This is a drone, as it were. Now, the interesting thing was that I've been asked to speak about drones. It's a lie. I'm not really here to speak about drones. I'll speak about drones for a little bit because it's a hot topic. It's a very hot sector. This little museum piece over here is over 2 years old. I spent the last 8 years, I've got no wife, no kids, basically no life. And I've invested that time in immersing myself in robotics because I've been waiting for this paradigm shift in robotics and the way it's going to revolutionize industry in our life. That is a culmination, probably about 6 years' worth of development work. Recently, that particular museum piece, which it will become, completed 4,000 kilometres of autonomous flight. That's flying across Australia by itself. That's what it completed to do. Now, that was done without anyone interfering. It was just told to go there. And that's all that happened. In other words, someone pushed a button. Now, the difference between a lot of drones, as we see them, a lot of people see drones, drone. These are all X-frame drones. This is what an industrial drone looks like this. When you see drones like this, you're looking at the future. It's going to change your future. Because what we're really talking about is collecting your data. That's what we're in the business of doing. That's what I invested the last decade working out how to do effectively. Now let's talk some numbers because we're all, let's face it, ex-bankers or want to be ex-bankers when banking was cool, as I was. Now let's see, the global growth, wealth, $400 trillion, right? We look at cash, we say cash out of that's about 8 trillion. So we're looking around 2% of global wealth. Now at the moment, actually, sorry, it's about 6 to 7. So that's about 2%. At the moment, the value of your data globally is worth about $2 trillion. That is going to grow. That's going to grow to at least to 6 to 7, and that's at the minimum it's going to grow to in terms of its worth. Cash, in terms of global wealth, used to be up around 15%. Now it's back to, in the Western world, around 2%. So you're looking at that growing at least 4 times. Now, how is that possible? That is possible because you think the data that you're selling without your knowledge now is a lot. It's not even a quarter of what's going to be gathered. We sat around, and this is what was really interesting, and as I say, reconnecting with Julia has really even changed the scope of this business, and some of the people that I've been talking to has really changed the way I've been thinking about this. Because we sat around the other night, we worked out, you know that robotic dog Spot, that 4-legged thing that crawls around Boston Dynamics? That will cost you $80,000 if you want to buy it. We worked out how to buy it, make it for $8,000. And you know what we did last year while we were under COVID lockdown? We took Spot, we gave him an articulated utility arm, and he self-articulated a can of Coke and put it on his back. Robotic speak for he did it himself and locked it down. What that means is this hotel, and we're talking about the other night, 40 Spots can deliver room service and collect it for this hotel. We also talked about robots cleaning up our mess. Now, the interesting thing about robots cleaning up our mess, that's a far more difficult job programming-wise to solve than when we're all organized. And the thing is, we are going to have robots, and we're actually talking to the hotel owner at the time, thinking about, 40 Spots, delivering room service, picking it all up. Now, not only is it delivering room service and picking it all up, it's collecting data. Do you know that same Spot that delivers food to your room could basically take all the occupants' room temperature? It could take biomedical information of everyone in that room. That can be collected. That will be collected. It's going to happen. So what we are looking at, when I created AAS, we were building advanced autonomous modular systems. Because literally, the last step is Google, Facebook, yes, we use our phones, we take our phones everywhere. But there is going to be this last couple of yards. It's going to be the 6G technology that basically extends into our lives and collects all the data constantly, a high rate of flow that will not only collect data, will deliver you back results just as fast. It's basically the Google Glasses phenomenon. It will happen. The only thing that it needs to happen is for us to basically be part of that economic growth that is data creation, which is wealth creation. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I had it explained to me why banking is dead. And it's amazing, every single job I had since I'm 19 years old does not exist anymore. It doesn't. It's not even recognizable, especially the salaries aren't recognizable. The interesting thing, if you look at data as being currency, which it will be, the collection and analysis of data is going to be the new investment banking. Now, if you look at it, crypto, there's people that have been here that have created, well, I was speaking to a gentleman the other day, he created the first investment bank based around cryptocurrency, and it's doing very well. And we're talking about option derivatives that he's going to create around these cryptocurrencies. So data is going to be the new currency, and that collection will require an infrastructure. And what I saw is rather than build this drone, which, as I say, recently did the equivalent of across Australia by itself, we built another little drone called the Low Sight, which is at the moment in Mali disintegrating landmines. Also sending back data on local temperature, who's around it. It takes photos of who actually turns it on every time, things like that. And the interesting thing about these two robots is that they are controlled by the same control system. Now, the interesting thing that I found while developing these robots, terrestrial, marine, we got actually another one called the Hydrosite, which handles marine environments. Once again, controlled by the same control system. But the lesson to be learnt by this is you bring the control system back far enough, you're into a control room, a centralized place where all these things can be controlled. Now you think about it, the Tesla motor car. You turn up to a Volkswagen with the Tesla software, not much good. Volkswagen, it's going to kill someone. But see, what we've done is we've created the building blocks, the modular system of autonomous hardware that we can grow and we can program into that will basically create the global data collection infrastructure that will basically take the $2 trillion worth of your information and turn it into 8, 10, $15 trillion worth of data, which is going to basically grow global growth over the next decade, or so a lot of smart people tend to think. And as I say, some of the opportunities that Julie and Viva have introduced me to, and the people that I've discussed, has really grown this idea exponentially over the last couple of weeks. I mean, we're even talking about a very interesting concept where we'll be constructing a monitoring station, a monitoring system that will allow us to extract value out of carbon credits, emission credits. You may have heard of these things over the years. They do really exist. There is money attached to them, real money. But part of all this is basically creating a monitoring system that will reach and it will create an infrastructure that will last and be a building block for the future, for our future. And that's how I see AAS, Advanced Autonomous Systems, basically being part of the global growth of the next decade. Now, I know we're going to have lunch very soon, so I just want to open the floor if everyone wants to ask any questions.
Thank you very much. I got a couple. Fantastic, thank you for that. And I'm just going to start off with one or two, and then I think there probably will be some questions from the floor. We've had so many conversations about this hardware-software dynamic, and you said some really interesting things the other night at dinner that I hope you wouldn't mind sharing around. It wasn't the standardization of hardware into one box, but you said, people focus on the software, but heck, if you don't have the hardware done correctly, software's not going to make the hardware work correctly. Could you just share what
Well, I think, if we all look around, we're probably using iPads created by the Apple company. Apple iPad is an amazing device, but it's an amazing device because it opened the standardized Apple tablet, basically allowed developers to create amazing applications to use that device. Now, I think it's not to say that we won't or haven't even taken into account that people are going to copy us and make our hardware. We hope they do because it means we've got it right. And that's why I think in 20 years' time, you look up in the sky, H-frame drones, they're going to be drones. We might not make them all, but that's what the predominant technology will be. And we will have to innovate. We won't be able to sit on our haunches, and we'll have to keep ahead of the competition to make sure that our company grows faster and penetrates deeper into all the markets than anyone else.
How many of you have heard of DJI? Okay, all right. I had not. And one of the things that you've said, Wayne, is that DJI exists in the market, but it's not going to seize the market sector of industrial drones. Could you share a little bit more about that?
Believe it or not, DJI, now we have to remember, DJI comes from a country called China, and they don't really believe in capitalism as much as they say they do. It's more of a communist country. I used to live in Hong Kong, lived in Asia, and it was really a semi-government idea that went by the Chinese military, went really, really right. And what actually happened? What made all these things possible? Because up to 2011, the United States and China were the only people that could afford the technology to make these things fly. Basically, there's nothing aerodynamic. That's a flying brick. The only reason it flies is because you have to have enough computing power to run the algorithm at 140 times a second to create stability. And what they decided was, the Chinese thought, the Americans got more people that could probably do interesting things with this technology against them, so they flooded the market with the chipset, and they reduced it from 20,000 pounds to 400 in 12 months. And that's why, if you remember reading the Sunday Times or whatever your paper is on a Sunday about drones, 2011, you'll think that thing there cost over 100,000 pounds. Less than 12 months later, you were flying Phantoms, those little white things from China. That's why. Because it was the Chinese government made a specific decision to blunt the US's military technological edge in this fashion. And that's why, at the moment, DJI is the consumer drone manufacturer of the world. They do not want to be the industrial drone manufacturer of the world. It goes against what they're after. They're after collecting information. I mean, the US government bans the purchase of DJI equipment over sensitive areas. US government departments are not allowed to buy DJI drones. So what I see is there's this big vacuum above industrial drone space waiting to be filled by a company.
Cool. Any questions? We've got, let's see, we've got Lauren, we've got Malcolm, we've got Giannis. Let's start with Giannis, get the perspective from industry. Then we get Malcolm's perspective from telecoms, Lauren's perspective from Mykonos. I think we have to touch on some of the applications in Mykonos as well.
Sure.
Giannis, please.
Yes, very interesting. I would love to fly it.
Oh, you want to fly? See, that's the thing. As soon as people fly them, it devalues the data. The value of the data, see, that thing there flew across Australia by itself. It can fly across Australia exactly the same speed, exactly the same height by itself. That means you can compare the data. That makes it valuable. As soon as a person gets involved, data less valuable. But you're welcome, if you want.
I will go to that. I was going to that.
Yeah.
As Julie said, my background is telecoms, and all that we are speaking right now with operators, our digital twins, drones, tracing, data collection, of course. My question is, you were mentioning all the time about the control centers. So the control centers must be a fortress, actually, because every hacker that I know would be interested to go and access this data.
Ah, yeah, you'd say that, wouldn't you? But, interestingly enough, do you know when you see people flying drones around and they spend, I think it's about 10 million it costs to basically bring down a drone. Right. You don't have to spend 10 million, I'll let you in on a secret. If you have a high-powered concert sound system, you can bring down a drone being operated manually. Because all it is, it's very simple. We just need a high amplitude, 2.4 gigahertz wave. Now, guess what? When this thing flies by itself, it doesn't work. All that technology rendered useless. If the drone is on an autonomous flight route, none of that technology works. And you know what? We had an interesting military display where some guys from the English MOD said, yes, it will, and the drone kept doing what it's doing. Because it works, to basically successfully disrupt it, you have to use what's called a B-wave transmitter. Now, B-wave transmitters, if you are caught with one, they're about this big, immediately 18 months, go to jail, do not pass go. That's how strict the laws are about, even in this country. Most people, fortunately, don't know why, don't even know about the technology. The reason is because if you knock this thing out, you knock out every single GPS. That means every car, every single thing that uses your phone. No one knows where they are. That's why that is so protected.
But this is to intercept the flight, what you are talking about. This is to intercept the flight. What I'm talking about is in the control center that humans are going to use
but see, you're right. But see, only when it gets retransmitted.
True. And that's why I have a million questions and I don't want to spend the time.
Oh, sure.
And so thank you for that. I think let's pass the mic to Malcolm, but is it true, Wayne, that there's interest in delivering pizzas in Mykonos by drones?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is. First of all, I would say that we wanted, when we first came in, I thought I got trapped between islands. And I thought, my God, this is amazing. And we're sitting on this port. And I was sitting with a person that had lost their phone, a lady who had left their bag behind, and a person who had actually had a loved one and they needed some medical care. And I was thinking, this is amazing. I actually am a helicopter pilot. I know that if you take off in a helicopter above 25 knot winds, insurance is invalidated. You cannot insure. So this drone here will fly in 60 to 70 knot winds. The best thing about these drones is I had the luck of developing them in the UK, which has the shittiest weather in the world. There are other places where they get developed is southern Florida, California, where 10 knots is a really windy day. You know what I mean? That's why helicopter pilots in California don't really do that well in the UK. So because it was developed in hard weather conditions, literally, I think we could set up drone delivery between the islands, starting off 5-kilogram payloads 10 times a day, and then just move upwards. And I think basically very soon you won't have to wait 4 days to get a part for your car from Athens. You'll get it within hours.
That's fantastic. Malcolm, please.
So I'm concerned with my clients, the MNOs, the mobile network operators, trying to convince them to take IoT and identity management seriously. So I have a question for you.
Certainly.
The average household, in the middle of 6G, it'll be about 10 years' time.
Maybe sooner, yep.
How many, that's 10 years' time, how many hundred drones, autonomous devices per household do you think there'll be? That's the first one, considering there's 7 billion households on the planet. And second question is, what percentage of those will be within 100 kilometers of my house?
Right. First of all, it's going to be worse than that. You know what? Yes, sorry. Because you know what? They're going to come in the form of your toaster. 6G is not going to come like this. 6G is going to come via your fridge. that orders orange juice so you never run out of it, or whatever your favorite beverage might be. That is IoT. It's interconnectivity. It's going to basically, do you know they've even passed laws during lockdown in the UK where they now can insert things into building materials that go into rebuild, because hell, how many new things get built in the UK? But you can renovate things, and they've got in the building materials, they've got, the laws have already been changed to handle 6G transmitters or transducers, which basically allow information to be collected and passed on. So the drones, you'll never see them. You'll never see these things. And like I say, you will never see, there will be 1 second when the drones are cleaning kitchens in your restaurants, and 1 second later, they'll be delivering your food. Because to deliver food is simple in comparison to cleaning up our mess. And let's face it, waiters, I mean, it's a night. We will, and you know the interesting thing is you're going to be happy about it. I'll tell you why. We ran this little test in Hyde Park. We actually were the only company who were allowed to test our drones in Hyde Park. And all we were doing, I wrote 80 lines of code, and all it was is to get a little robot running back and forward, about 30 meters, running back and forth. And this was just to make sure that it didn't bump into people. This is 80 lines of code. I had people talking to it like it was a little dog. They're like, because it would stop, wait for them to pass, and they were like, oh, it's cute. And they were having a relationship with a machine that ran 80 lines of code, a personal relationship. This is why you're worried about all this. You're going to welcome it. You're going to get so attached to it that if we say, sorry, you know what, can we just send you a new one? You'll be like, no, can you fix the old one because we like it? That's what you'll do. I hope that makes you feel better.
We're going to go to Lauren because we got to keep going here, guys. Lauren, please.
I guess mine's more of a hardware question. So, like,
Please ask. You know what? Hardly ever get them.
so this past week I've been flying the Mavic 2, getting a lot of footage for some videos that I'm working on, and I tell you, that thing's battery is done in 20 minutes. I know here in Mykonos, a lot of people are using drones in order to collect data about who's building illegal pools and stuff like that. But if it's going to die so soon, how does this fly across Australia? Is there a solar battery? Is it propelling itself with a gyroscope? Well, how does it last so long?
Do you know, interesting. This thing can fly for over an hour by itself right now. Do you know, there's another thing. There's these little clamps on the bottom. We actually, this is for our investors. This is why we're going to get R&D tax credits, because we developed a detachable wing. And when you're not delivering Domino's pizza for someone in Mykonos, we can attach a wing. And as long as you're making 35 kilometers an hour headway, you double the lift. So rather than an hour, you get 2 hours. Now, the interesting thing is battery technology is advancing so quickly. We haven't really had a big one since LiPo. But I can tell you now, there's a couple of different companies. Last year, we were contacted by someone who probably in the next 6 months is going to give us a LiPo battery to put in this thing that will run for 40 hours. I know, amazing. But this is all the stuff. I can tell you there's a big leap going to come in batteries very soon. We're not going to be beholden by the Duracell bunny forever. I promise you.
Are there any other questions for Wayne? Yes, we've got, can't see, Rick. Okay, we got Rick.
But good on the Mavic too, by the way. Good choice. Good choice.
Hi. Just a quick question about the safety of drones. I keep hearing that the Amazon is going to be delivering boxes and stuff. I mean, what happens when one of these things breaks down and drops on somebody's head and kills them?
Well, that's pretty definitive. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's pretty definitive. I mean, not that you're behind any of that, but anyway, no. Let me tell you this. Amazon, hate to say it, not really interested in delivering your stuff. Big surprise, I know. The truth behind Amazon is if you look at the way they basically announce their technology, and one of the things they announced, and they patented this, They want warehouses floating at 20,000 feet in the sky to restock their drones. Now, if you have a look when they bring this out in late October, November. The reason Amazon are into drones is for free advertising. It advertises Amazon before the big holidays. That's why they do it. But that being said, because they realize they get more bang for their buck, but that being said, when they do crack delivery, and delivery is going to get cracked, it's not going to get cracked by Amazon, because let's face it, Amazon don't really care. They make so much money, but delivery will be cracked. And the way it's going to be cracked, it'll be cracked like, I'll give you an example. I would say next summer, we could deliver Domino's pizzas to this hotel pretty easily by having a single place that goes back and forth between the Domino's restaurant and here, and it will be packaged, tracked. Your pizza will be tracked. We've got these little trackers that fits in the boxes, and that's going to happen. And a company like us will work it out. We have worked out the industrial drone. The Mavic 2 is not going to deliver your pizza. It never will. It's a toy. It's a great toy. It's a lot of fun. You get to peer in your neighbors and all this stuff. As attractive as I'm sure ladies in this room are, it's not the sole purpose of why I got into drones. Got into drones to basically create an industrial tool that's going to basically build the network for our data collection for the growth of our society. That's what it's about, and we will solve that. And because it's a modular system, when we do solve delivery, we will solve and sell a solution to the world. And as I say, I hope that starts here in Greece by basically connecting these islands. So if someone loses their phone, that they don't have to wait 3 days for the wind to come down so that they can get their phone delivered so they can go back home. Hopefully that's coming to Greece next year. Hopefully.
Dermot, you had a question, I think, right? Can we get the microphone hustled over to Dermot? I want everybody to hear him. Modular, you can take it off, take it, just put it back. Modular is obvious, right? Just a
Modular means that this alarm over here, we can take this arm off, and see, this is just, see that thing? That's 17 inches with an ESC. We can put on 25-inch props, which make this thing about this big. Same power source, and the thing is, as opposed to the detachable wing, we can put on a package and make it deliverable. And it's GPS activated, so it can drop or can land, release. All that's just down to software. And as I say, since we've got the Tesla motor vehicle right here, it's just about software.
Malcolm, where are you on your funding journey?
The expert in funding, I found out, is this lady here. And,
Agreed.
Yeah, so that basically, funding inquiries.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, I wanted to work with Wayne on putting together a fantastic infrastructure on the investment side, some really great investors. So if you have any interest, please do come see me because I'm working on it right now. Yeah, excellent. One last question before we go. Anyone? Okay.
Bon appetit. Enjoy lunch.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you.